Hello, hello, my lovely Year 2 artists. We've already been practicing our stitching for our art textiles project. We've already been practicing cutting out and laying out materials. And now we're going to look at beading, our next skill. And we're looking at Ruth Cuthand as our inspiration. She makes these beautiful beaded artworks showing all the close-ups of the germs under microscopes. This one is of COVID. And during COVID pandemic, she also made these face masks, all again with beads. So we're going to practice our beading skills by sewing some beads onto a mask like Ruth Cuthand. So you need your mask, you need some thread, you need your needle, and you need some of these. These are pony beads. Now, pony beads are a lot bigger than the ones Ruth Cuthand uses, but I thought they'd be good to practice. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be doing some stitching, some nice stitches for decoration onto our mask, and we're going to add some beads. Now, same as before, cut the end of your thread, twist it together, and then it's easier to poke through the eye of your needle. And then you want double thread, just like you did when we were stitching the photographs at the start of the project. And you want to loop it around your fingers and tie a nice big chunky knot. I had a really lovely big knot here, that was great. And the idea is that's going to stop it coming through. So we're going to poke it through the back. Now you can tell the back of your mask because it's the side where you can see that the little elastic earpieces are sticking out. So there we go, we put our first stitch in, and I'm going to do a decoration with a stitch first of all. So here's my stitch, and then I'm going to add a bead. So I'm going to come back through from the back, sticking it out, the needle out all the way through. It's got a bit tangled there, so take your time, just pull it all the way through. Then I get my bead and I poke it onto my needle and thread it onto my piece of thread, and I do a little stitch to hold it down. And there we are, our first stitch and our first bead. I'm going to come out again and do another stitch. I'm doing a pattern here of a stitch, a bead, a stitch, a bead. But I'm going to change, I think, the colour of my bead, maybe that one. Now, I've just shown you here what you can do, because you might put the bead on at the wrong point. We don't want to put beads on the back, do we? We only ever put the beads on the front. So make sure that our thread is sticking out of our mask. Then we put our bead onto our thread, and then we sew downwards like that. So I'm doing a pattern of a stitch, a bead, a stitch, a bead, but I'm also doing another pattern of using green, then orange, green, then orange, which I think that looks rather nice. But you do it how you want. Remember, this is just about experiments. We're learning these techniques so that next half term, when we do our final art textiles piece, we're going to have brilliant skills. So I'm just finishing off this row here. You can see my pattern that I've used stitch, bead, and I've used green, orange, green, orange. Now I just want to show you how to finish. So if I finish this row and I want to stop, I can't just stick a bit of tape on like we did with the stitching the other day. I have to do some tiny little stitches on top of each other over and over again. And this will catch the thread and hold it and stop it from falling out. So I've done one, and now I'm doing another stitch on top of that last stitch, and I'm doing a third one. So you want 3 or 4 stitches over and over again over the same spot, and that will keep it in place. You then snip off the tail, and there you go, it's all held firmly in place. And that's my first bit of sewing there with beading as well, which is rather nice. Now I'm going to carry on with this one. Some of you will be really quick at doing this, and you might want to fill up the whole of your mask. That's great, and that's fine. If some of you find this tricky, it's fine. Just take your time. You do it however you want. It's all about just learning those skills. So here I am. I'm finished my mask here. I did nice 3 rows. I slightly changed my pattern. I went orange, green, orange instead of green, orange, green. And I think it looks rather effective. I've made another one here to show you because I wanted to show you a different sort of stitch. So this is called a cross stitch. So this is a nice decoration. Instead of doing a stitch so that you go in a line, we're making a cross shape. Now, can you see how I did that? I did my first stitch, and then instead of pushing my needle up at the end of the last stitch. I did it in the middle at the side there so that you could see a nice cross. Then I'm doing a bead. Let me show you that again. I'll show you the cross. So in for one stitch, and then don't go to the end, go to the side to come out of your needle and cross over, and then we've got a cross. And I'm just filling up my mask with little crosses or kisses or X's, whatever you would like to call them, and one colour bead. Why not? Use the same colour over and over again if you like. Entirely up to you. Now I'm going to show you this way of finishing off. This is using a knot. I do one stitch. Last time I did 3 or 4. I do one stitch, but I leave this nice loopy bit. I don't pull it all the way through. Can you see that? Just one little stitch without pulling it through. I then cut my needle off and then put it away very safely. We don't want anyone to end up sitting on any needles. That would be terrible. And now I'm going to twist that loopy bit round a little bit and use it like I'm tying a knot, just with those 2 pieces together. And I just tie one knot and I tie another. So if you're good at tying knots, this might be how you want to finish off your sewing. If you find knots difficult, do the stitches. There we go. There's 2 examples for you, my lovelies. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And of course, take a picture of you wearing your art. That would be good fun. Keep all of your artwork safe because you're going to look at it for next half term.